Okay. Hello, everyone. We're going,
Hi.
okay, so we're going to go live now, semi-live, not really live. We're going to be on a YouTube link, and then you're going to be able to watch it for the viewers. I think all of us pretty much know one another, but for the viewers, let's go around and audition. Um, introduce ourselves. Give us your name, where you're from, where you went to school, what you studied, or anything you've written or acted in, just basically anything you want the world to know. And we will start with Mary, I guess. Go ahead.
Hi, my name is Mary. I was born in Miami, and then I moved to Lake Worth, Florida, when I was 12, and so I've lived here now for a decade. I'm a student at Florida Atlantic University, and yeah, I'm an everything enthusiast. I'm an ENFP, and I like poetry. ENFP or INFP, depending on my mood. And yeah, it's nice to be here.
Great. Well, we're happy to have you. Brooke, why don't you go?
Hello, everyone, and thank you for having me, Millennial Workshop Theater and Michael Boswell. And it's lovely to see all of you. My name is Brooklyn White, and I will not be doing an audition, Michael, but I will tell you a little bit about myself. I'm from Miami now. I've been here long enough, and I did go to the University of Miami and studied musical theater. And now I am actually, we're performing improvisation with Society Circus Players, another member of the panel, Alicia, and I have a beautiful, amazing 3-year-old daughter. So that's my life. I love theater.
Oh, I didn't know you had children or child. Um, great. Alicia, why don't you go?
So, hi everybody, I'm Alicia Garcia. Allie is just fine. I, by day, am a professor of English, and by night, I am a writer, a crocheter, a pet lover, and a runner. And I perform improv with Brooke in Society Circus Players. I've written for them. I've also written and performed with Front Yard Theater Collective. And I've written a piece that will debut for Cutler Bay Players. They're doing a short play festival, so that's going to come out. And then I also, with Brooke and another fantastic woman, started a little production company. And so we're going to have stuff coming out with original work. And yeah, the quarantine has actually given me an opportunity to do a lot more writing. So I'm actually really happy about that aspect of this life that we're living. So
Yeah, I would concur with that. I've written some more than usual. Okay, Ilana.
Hi, I'm Ilana. I've lived in the Lake Worth area on and off since I was 13-ish. I went to New York for a while to start undergrad, but ended up finishing undergrad at FAU. And then I went back to New York for grad school in creative nonfiction at Sarah Lawrence. So I kind of started out in acting and then sort of eventually figured out that writing was more my thing. And I guess I mostly write plays and nonfiction. And I agree about quarantine giving me more time to write. And now I just realized that no matter how many things I finish, there will always be more things to finish. And I don't know how to feel about that. So
Yeah. The human condition.
Okay, great. And
Yeah.
we have
So.
finally Raquel. Why don't you go ahead?
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm Raquel Reyes. I'm in Miami. I graduated with a BFA in theater directing from University of New Mexico. I loved being out there in New Mexico, but I haven't been back. I'm definitely a Miami girl now. And I used to write poetry and had several things published. But now I've switched to genre writing, and I write mysteries. And I just recently got signed with an agent and have a book deal. So
oh my God.
So yeah, it's been it's things have it's not because of the pandemic, but like a bunch of really good things have happened during this time. So like I've got a couple of short stories that are going to be coming out. And so things are good for me writing wise. And I love not having to deal with outside world.
You know.
So yeah.
Okay, well, congratulations on all that, Raquel.
Thank you.
I'll do me. My name is Mike Boswell. For those who don't know, I've been down in South Florida for about 5 years. I'm originally from Southern Illinois. I started out doing Improv U with Anthony Francis and met a few people there. And after that, I did Sick Puppies Comedy and did that for almost 3 years, I think. And then started taking classes with Tim Davis at New City Players and began doing his theater lab and writing short plays. And now I'm trying to get back into poetry, which I haven't written in quite a while. And then I started, I guess, during the pandemic, like Raquel was saying, it's a blessing in certain ways because I was desperate to do something. And I said, I'm going to set up something. It was just a Facebook chat, actually. And I had written something, it was about 10 pages long and had about 6 characters. And I didn't think it was very good, but I thought this will be perfect for 6 people to just read. And we did that on Facebook chat. And then I went live the next time we did something with Stefan Pineda. I had written something and we read that. And I go, these play readings are getting really, are going very well. So I'm going to start poetry reading. So we'll do poetry every other week and plays every other week. So we're on every week, but we alternate between poetry and miscellaneous things, and then strictly reading plays. And it's strictly unrehearsed, and you could rehearse on your own, but it's not required. But I do like having just an unrehearsed cold read of plays for whatever reason. I enjoy them. Maybe it's because improv background. I don't like to prepare too much. So yeah, that's what I'm doing right now. And we'll get started with reading. Who would like, I guess we'll go around everybody will read one thing, and then we'll go through the round again. And if you have anything else, and we'll have short comments right after each reading, and then longer discussions after we're all through. So who would like to go first?
I always love to go first.
Okay.
If nobody else is going to volunteer.
All
I
right.
like to go first. I like to go last. So let me know.
Yeah, I kind of like that myself. Okay,
I
Raquel,
think
what do
Brooke,
you,
or yeah, whoever wants to go.
Raquel, what are you reading first?
Okay, so this will be like a really good practice for me because I haven't read out probably since I did spoken word and doing poetry, and so that's been a while. I won't tell you the years on that. So I had my first short story officially published in like a traditional publishing type of thing, and then it was supposed to drop during a conference, Malice Domestic. It's this big mystery writer conference, but the pandemic canceled that. So that was kind of like a bummer. And so I haven't had a chance to read this out anywhere. So this will be my first time reading it out. And so I'm a little rusty. But anyway, I thought it was appropriate because it's called Mystery Most Theatrical. And this is set in a theater in Miami. So I'm going to read the first 2 pages of it.
Okay.
So
Go ahead.
here we go.
Yeah.
All right. I hadn't signed up for death threats when I applied for an internship at Teatro Comico, nor had I signed up to be an understudy. But here I was in the 5th row of the historic Mediterranean revival El Gallo Theater on the legendary Calle Ocho in Miami, Florida, checking the company's email account while listening to the director, Milagros Valesquez, bickering. The troupe's headliner, to whom I was an understudy, and to whom the director was yelling with code red exasperation, was a genius at comic timing. She was also a diva of the highest order. Maestro, listen to me. Milagros struck a pose under the center stage light, her fist jutting like it held a sword in a Wagner opera. It would be more funny if the stage went dark. It was tech week. Who knew if the lighting crew had done it on purpose, but their timing was comedy gold. I muffled a laugh. When the lights came up, Milagros was frozen in position, challenging a void. Her adversary had left the stage. The director, Willie Chico Gonzalez, stormed by me and waved for me to follow. I grabbed my messenger bag, tossed my script and phone into it, and chased into the lobby. He punched the eye of a golden cockerel in the ornate wood relief, and a hidden passage opened. The broad iron grate stairs to his tiny office were narrow. I walked on my tiptoes so my heels wouldn't get stuck in the quadrifold holes. What do we have today? He slumped into the cracked leather chair behind his desk. With no place to put anything, much less sit, I pulled my purse from my bag and leaned casually against the door jamb, half in and half out of the room. The usual request for comps and actors wanting to audition, I replied. No, the other thing, he said. Only one. I scrolled through the emails. Let me hear it. He rubbed his fingers on his forehead before reaching into his shirt pocket for a cigarette. You can't smoke in here. El Gallo is owned by the city. What are you, a government employee? He tapped the red packet of the cancer sticks with a dare me vibe in his eyes. Also, nicotine will kill you, and the fire alarm will probably go off. I pointed to the sprinkler over his head. It's never gone off before, but fine. He put the pack back in his shirt pocket and opened the little drawer under the lip of the desk. Things rolled and rattled. He withdrew an e-cigarette and took a hit. There was a faint smell of vanilla and clove. The LED glowed an unnatural orange. Feliz? Now read me the letter. You are a disgrace to all Cubans. You don't deserve a star. I read from my phone. That's it? No threats? No vows to shut the production down? He exhaled a plume of scented water vapor. Gracias a Dios. But still, I should report it to the police, no? I asked. No, definitely not. He exploded from his chair, lifting off the ground, his weedy body too light and unprepared for such energy. We don't want the media to get wind of it. He reached for a folded El Nuevo Herald that had dislodged from its pile and shook it like he was swatting gnats. You didn't say anything about the other ones, did you? I haven't done anything. I took a micro step backwards. The cold of the plaster wall on my sleeveless arm stopped me from a successful retreat. Good. He looked at the newspaper in his hand and made a face. He stuffed it into the shallow drawer, then said, why does she have to be so difficult? His words were a rumble through closed teeth and not meant for my ears. I'd recognized the photo in the article. It was a review from last season. I'd read it. Everybody had read it. Well, maybe not everybody, but most of Miami, and probably every university theater department, African American Studies department, and Latin American Caribbean Studies department across the USA. I remember Professor Allenda went off syllabus to hold a group discussion on minstrel shows. It might have even been on NPR. Milagros Valesquez, star of stage and screen, the small telenovela screen, defending her blackface character as being traditional and not racism. She hadn't won the argument. The coverage nearly shut the company down. Willie's apology ran on the 5 o'clock news on both Telemundo and Univision. He apologized in English and on other American stations, and he promised Milagro would wear makeup that matched her actual warm beige skin tone for the remainder of the run and in any further productions with the company. And that's the first 2 pages. That's it.
All right. So was that partially based on something that may have happened in real life, or?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. A theater company in Coral Gables, I think, or it might have been in Little Havana. I don't know if somebody else can pipe in, but it was probably maybe like 4 years ago. They actually had a blackface character, and it was like, of course, on the news.
Yeah.
But it wasn't just local news; it was national, because I remember hearing about it at NPR, and then because from Miami, to all my friends outside of Miami had to, like, you know, break it down on how the Cuban were reacting to it, and then how, like, the Venezuelan and South Americans were acting on it, because there was like all these different factions, and, like, you know, yeah, it was like, yeah, it was a thing, and it was shocking that they didn't get it. Like, they did not get it at all. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm Cuban, and there's still a lot of like racism like in the Cuban community, which is very interesting because we have like Afro Cubans, you know, like there's a sizable Black community in Cuba. And so it's just like, you know, but of course, like, look at the US, you know, like, it's just saddening, I think, to see, like, to be part of a minority community and to see how minority communities can act towards other minority communities. But of course, like, you know, I'm Cuban, but I'm still white. And so I think that's where that sort of ingrained racism comes from. But definitely doesn't make it okay. And that's what I really liked about your piece. It felt very much like I kind of had the same reaction as Michael. I was like, I feel like this is something that actually happened. So it felt very much like cool, you know.
It is fiction.
Yeah.
And nobody died in real life.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, I did take the colorism part as inspiration.
Right.
For my piece. Yeah.
It was really good. I really enjoyed it.
Okay. Well, we could circle back to that and comment on it more later. But why don't we have Brooke do her first piece, if she's ready?
Of course.
Okay.
My first piece will actually, it's not written by me. It's not an original work. But when I thought of Poetry Night, when I saw your last session, I thought of this. So a little Emily Dickinson.
Okay.
So yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and read. This is poem number 640. All right. I cannot live with you. It would be life. And life is over there, behind the shelf the sexton keeps the key to, putting up our life, his porcelain, like a cup, discarded of the housewife, quaint or broke. A newer Sevres pleases, old ones crack. I could not die with you, for one must wait to shut the other's gaze down. You could not. And could I stand by and see you freeze without my right of frost, death's privilege? Nor could I rise with you, because your face would put out Jesus's, that new grace, glow plain and foreign on my homesick eye. Except that you, than he, shone closer by. They judge us. How? For you served heaven, you know, or sought to. I could not. Because you saturated sight, and I had no more eyes for sordid excellent as paradise. And were you lost? I would be, though my name rang loudest on the heavenly fame. And were you saved, and I condemned to be? Where you were not, that self were hell to me. So we must meet apart. You there, I hear, with just the door ajar, that oceans are, and prayer, and that white sustenance despair.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, we were all in high school once, and we all discovered Emily Dickinson, and
I
it
did. I
just
did. Yeah, I did a graduation out of Gulf Coast State College. My senior project was the Belle of Amherst. So it was a one woman play, and so it was just a beautiful play. So I kind of got into those poems, and sometimes she wrote quite a lot and was prolific, and she never let anyone see this and led this quiet life, but she was amazing, and just this passion and the way she puts together nature and love and this innocence, and some of her vocal patterns were really ahead of the time.
I
So
was just going to say that she still sounds like, for someone who was writing the 1850s, 1860s, it still sounds like a young woman, or even a young adolescent woman, or just anybody. It just still sounds like that to me, and that's incredible, because no one had caught up to her until maybe William Carlos Williams, where he was writing in the 1910, 1920s, and his stuff sounds pretty modern now, still over 100 years. But it's insane that she was even out ahead of him by 50 years. It's just, I mean, I could go on and on, but does anyone else have short comments, and then we'll get to the next person? No?
I think it was a beautiful reading. I think
That's
Emily
the other thing.
Dickinson
Yeah.
is
Go ahead.
lost sometimes on the page. But
Right.
when it's out loud, I think it is the way that it is intended, I think. So
Right.
that was beautiful. Thank you, bro.
Sure. Okay, well, who wants to go next?
I mean, I can.
Okay, Elisa, Elisa,
Allie, yeah.
will go next. Go ahead.
Okay, so this is a thing that I wrote, and I don't know what it is, but I'm gonna read it.
Great.
Happy Halloween, everybody. Okay, so this is called "What I Mean When I Say I Love Murder." I love murder doesn't really mean I love murder. I don't actually love it. I hate it. Any normal person would hate it because it's awful, but that's why I love it. I'm terrified by murder and the thought of people who murder and of being murdered, but I can also learn from it. I can spot red flags and be more aware of my surroundings. I can practice recognizing car makes and license plates. I know that monsters lurk among us, so maybe I'll stay alive. I mean, we're talking about the most horrible thing that can happen to a person, usually a woman, and usually coupled with some other horrible violation, which I'll leave you to imagine, or not imagine if you prefer. I mean, I'm the one who loves murder here, which means I hate it. Keep up. I love murder in general, but specifically, I love a manifesto and I love a cult. I can't help it. Maybe I should have been a psychologist or something, but come on, a manifesto. Oh, they're so good and wonderful and sad and terrible and misguided and totally on point all at the same time. Oh my gosh, is this my manifesto? I hope not. And cults. What a delight. A creepy cult leader? Yes, please. An average, boring white dude with a messiah complex? Pass the popcorn. I wonder how cults happen and who falls for them, and if I would immediately become a member. What kind of cult member would I be? Would I speak up or would I shut up? I honestly don't know, and that's what makes them so fascinating. So maybe I would be in a cult? Anyway, back to my point. When I say I love murder, what I really mean is that I'm fascinated by murderers. Not because I want to be one or anything, but because I'm curious about the circumstances that would lead someone to take the most precious gift away from another person. I'm curious about what could make someone so mad or so diabolical or just so self-centered that they could murder. I'm curious about people who feel literally no empathy for others because I've suffered from empathy my whole life. I get overwhelmed by other people's strong feelings, so I can't imagine just feeling nothing. Speaking of empathy, I love murder also means that I love victims. I mean, I don't, well, you get it by now. I love victims because listening to their stories means I get to empathize with them. I find a bit of myself in their love of their teaching job or their aspirations to make the world better. Victims of murder are just people wanting to be loved or to have fun. They want to be taken seriously or feel like they belong. And we've all been those people, those women. I'm that woman now, most days. And listening to their names and their stories is important because it is in this way that their lives continue to matter, even to people who didn't know them originally. Their stories, their lessons, and their humanity still matter. Did you know that we have 911 services and Amber Alerts because of murder? Kitty Genovese and Amber Hangerman made the world safer, just to name two. There are so many more. People who left an indelible impression because their parents and friends and loved ones did something. And in that way, they continue to live, and that is beautiful. When I say I love murder, though, what I also mean is that I love justice. In the cases I like best, the narrative is clear: villain, bad guy, punishment. It seems rare these days. Sure, people are nuanced, and even murderers are complicated people who often have a really sad story, but everyone's complicated, and everyone goes through some really tough, sad shit. But not everyone murders. So they're clearly the villain. The good guys find them and they pretend they didn't do it, and I'm allowed to hate them more. And then they decide to represent themselves during the trial, and I laugh. And then they get punished. And in the end, a wrong that is righted feels pretty good. I love murder because each story of murder is a tale about all of us. Mistakes, missteps, feelings, regrets, bad decisions, pride, love. Murder is all of it. So when I say I love murder, what I really mean is I love being alive.
Oh my God, that was beautiful. I love that. I loved it.
Yeah. Well, I could go on and on about this. Excuse me, I would be willing to bet everyone here, it seems to be artistic types or empathic types are drawn in and spend a lot of time reading and or watching, like Alicia was saying, like Ali was saying, awful stories and countless victims of Ted Bundy and Jeffrey Dahmer, and I could go on and on. The victims are, and like she was saying, these are human stories. It's almost, despite the murder, despite maybe some of the injustice or justice, it's just fascinating to hear about people that even lived in the 70s before we were alive. Again, I could go on and on. If anyone else has short comments, we could have them, and then we might even circle back to that, because I could just that is just fascinating how sensitive types like us, let's say, are just enthralled by whatever that is, whatever that trial, whatever that awful serial killer or manifesto writer or mass shooter, whatever that is. It's just I guess it's just drama like anything else. It's just well, anyway. So anyone else have something to add shortly to that? And then
I just want to lure her over to the mystery genre world over here. Come on over.
I'm not smart enough to write mysteries. I'm not smart enough.
You would do amazing at that, Alicia. I just want to say that was just a fascinating piece, and how you took the subject and analyzed it at every single possible angle, and that is what life is. And to speak to Michael, yes, I mean, these are just, just all of these horrible things, and we just have to remember the victims and learn from this so that we can make the world a better place. And speaking of the writing, I wrote down the ebbs and flows. like it was ebbing and flowing. It was just so
Mm.
perfect, like the timing and rhythm. And then you had the ebbing and flowing, the comedy and the sadness. And, I definitely had teared up. So it was just amazing. I could see this as a monologue. I could see this as something, the keynote and a play extends from this, or even a book, something like that sort of mystery. Like, yeah.
Raquel, yeah. Well, I was thinking you were going to flip it and you were going to be an unreliable narrator and you were going to flip it and then you were going to end up being the murderer. But that's because that's my genre and that's where my brain went.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I liked when
I
you
could
brought
see
up
it going
like,
a lot of
justice.
different ways.
When you
Cool,
said
thank
like, I think you had the line like, "What I mean is I love justice," or when you brought up the idea of justice, I was like, yes, like it just really like as somebody like kind of what Michael was bringing up, like interested in true crime, really wanting to see justice given to the victims and their families.
Mhm.
Like when you started to bring that up, it just felt very touching. It was very well written.
Thank you.
I feel like it could be a whole book, really. I agree with Raquel. I think you are smart enough to write mysteries.
Thank you.
So you should go for it.
Thank you.
Okay, well, we should move on and we can circle back to that one later. Who hasn't gotten a chance here? We have
I can go next.
Ilana's the last one.
Or
Okay.
whoever wants to go.
Whoever,
Say
yeah,
you
I'm in no
can
rush.
go.
Mary didn't go either. Okay.
You can go, Alana.
Okay. Something that's like around 7 minutes isn't too long, right?
No, that's fine.
Okay. Okay. So I'm gonna get political again.
Great.
I'm gonna read this
Yes.
that I actually wrote for a vigil for Jade Cothey, who is a young woman who died of an overdose in West Palm Beach because of police negligence. And once this is on YouTube, I can just put some info in the comments, like about her case and everything, if any of you want to know more about them.
Absolutely. Thank you.
I'm just gonna read this thing, and I'm probably gonna mess with it some more because I'm working with an editor or whatever, but it's gonna be mostly cohesive now, hopefully. So,
Okay.
ready.
All right, go ahead.
As an introverted child who took early on to spending more time reading than doing anything else, I was raised on stories of revolution. So many of my favorite books followed the journey of an underdog's rise up to fight against some tyrannical, corrupt system, which may be why, despite my otherwise non-confrontational nature, I've seldom met an oppressive cultural institution I wasn't eager to destroy. So when the fire set in the wake of George Floyd's murder ended up igniting a nationwide movement for Black lives, I was one of the many white allies moved to take to the streets, outlasting the initial hype to keep marching weekend after weekend until the embers finally began to cool. But I don't think I fully grasped the gravity of what I was fighting for until I learned the story of Jade Cothey. Unlike the other horrific tales I had heard of Black people sentenced to death by the moral bankruptcy of police departments, what happened to Jade had happened in West Palm Beach, practically in my backyard. And though by then I'd begun attempting to write fiction reflecting grave inequalities that plagued our justice system, it turned out that the truth could still be far uglier than even the horrors I had imagined. No, police officers called to the aid of a girl in the midst of a life-threatening overdose would not only fail to help her, but actively prevent her from seeking help. No, they would not make racist and disparaging comments about her even as she lay dying. No, a policeman would not actually stand over her dead body and say, "Nice rack." No, the police department would not, nearly 3 months later, still be refusing to release body cam footage of the incident, forcing her grieving family to fight through layer after layer of bureaucratic bullshit to so much as learn the full truth of their daughter's death. No, the police would not arrest a handful of the peaceful protesters who showed up at their gates demanding only justice for this innocent girl. But that part I, another of those protesters, saw with my own eyes. These disturbing and dehumanizing details of her death and its aftermath provided a visceral and specific lens through which I could see the costs of police corruption more clearly than ever, reminding me both of the utter necessity of change and my personal stake in making that change happen. After all, I, like Jade had been, was a young woman in her 20s, a passionate and dedicated artist, and someone who suffered from anxiety and depression and at times found myself abusing substances in an effort to cope. Jade seemed like someone I could have been friends with, or that I could have been. But due to some combination of privilege and sheer dumb luck, my struggle was one that I lived to tell about, while some combination of police negligence and police hatred doomed Jade to perish when she could easily have been saved. Given those stark facts, what right did I have to be here while she was not? And given that I was, what right did I then have not to take advantage of the fact that I still had a voice while hers had been silenced? What right did I then have not to use that voice to help ensure that those responsible for Jade's death would be held accountable, or to do all I could to make this world into one that would have been fairer to both of us? Perhaps because it had affected me more personally, bias against those struggling with mental health issues had been a cause of mine well before I became more aware of the oppression faced by people of color, but Jade's case showed me how impossible it is to separate the two, and how impossible it is to separate tragedies like hers from their political roots. And as I continued my research into the widespread systemic biases against people of color and people suffering from addiction, I would eventually come to understand that the police's behavior towards Jade was not something I should have been shocked by, but something I should have predicted, the same way you predict that any coin tossed often enough will eventually come up heads, as well as to realize that the cruel capitalistic systems that would deny me my full personhood based on my diagnoses or my femaleness, and those that would marginalize Jade even further based on her skin color, are in fact systems that are one and the same. So to anyone who can look at the movement for Black lives and think that it isn't about them, you're wrong. You're wrong, first, because you should give a fuck about people even if they aren't like you, and second, because the greater war that this movement is a part of is as huge and universal as the battle between good and evil itself. It is the battle between good and evil itself. The fight for justice for Jade is part of the same war we fought against slavery and for gay marriage and for suffrage, the war we fought for reproductive freedom and civil rights. It's the same war my grandmother was fighting in 1940s Germany when it was only the kindness of strangers that kept her out of a concentration camp, the same war my great-great-grandparents were fighting when they perished in one. The same war we should all be fighting now, not only against the racist police, but against the inhumane crimes now taking place in our own ICE detainment camps, against income inequality, against President motherfucking Trump. So to any other former bookworms who never really stopped waiting for the day they'd get the call, this is it. As of right now, you are the chosen one, and it's up to you to help keep your neighbors safe. This is your sign, this is your prophecy. This is your favorite dystopian movie where the little guys fire back against the villainous overlords. And congratulations, you've got a starring role. This is Hamilton and Schindler's List and Les Miserables. This is Star Wars and Harry Potter and 1984. This is it, that epic war you've been waiting for. And it's also the war that's been going on since the beginning of time. At the first protest I attended in the wake of Jade's death, I remember yelling louder than I had at any protest before. I remember how different the energy was from that of those other protests, the air pulsing with our barely contained rage. I remember feeling the weight of the moment, feeling heartbroken that I had to be there, screaming towards the uncaring ears of the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office on behalf of a girl who would never again be able to speak for herself, heartbroken for all the beauty that that girl would now never be able to bring to the world, and heartbroken for the family that mourned her. Yet I also remember feeling hardened that so many comrades still cared enough to scream and march with me, even as the COVID-19 pandemic continued to rage. And I remember feeling more centered, more like myself than I had in months. I remember feeling the power of knowing that what I was doing was absolutely necessary and absolutely right. It still is absolutely right, and this war is one we cannot abandon. We cannot stop giving this our all until we have justice for Jade and all those like her.
All right. Well,
That was great. That
yeah.
was amazing. I loved it.
I mean, I was a political science major in college, so I'll just leave my comments to the side because I could go on and on about that. Anyone else have?
I like all the literary references.
No.
I love Hamilton. I actually started doing an undergraduate thesis proposal on the fact that there are a lot of references to bipolar symptoms in Hamilton the musical. So I'm convinced that he had bipolar disorder. And so I like that you brought in mental illness into it, because that meant the link between mental illness and substance abuse is very evident. And I'm happy that you read that poem, because I actually didn't know about that situation. So I definitely will be looking when you post more information about it, because that's incredibly heartbreaking. A lot of my friends are addicts. I've also had similar experimentation in my life. And that's completely just unacceptable, really, to have that happen in West Palm. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for your story, and thank you for being there for all of us. And your last few sentences were so powerful. Just you standing there and the energy for speaking for this beautiful person that can never bring her art was just the most powerful part for me. And it was so inspiring and just so matter of fact. I mean, who can argue with what you were saying? So I think this is just amazing, and I hope everyone can hear this.
Do you have an idea where you'd like to publish it or post it, or are you thinking about doing that?
With someone who has this new online magazine called Story Girl, and it should be going up there eventually.
Awesome. Yeah, that definitely should be shared. So that's really good that you're in communication with somebody.
Yeah, I loved when you said, like, this is your call, this is the moment. Like, it's not, it speaks to all the people who are just like, well, I don't, I want to do something, but I don't know. And I get that.
Yeah.
But I think to just come out and say, like, this is it. This is the moment. It's the call. The movie is happening. Stick your 3 fingers up in the air and get out there and fight the battle. I thought that was great.
Alana is coming for everyone's political apathy, and we're here to see it.
Happy debate night, everyone.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
Well, we could come back to that later as well. Who would like to? I think we've gone around once. Who would like to go first for the second?
I'll go. Yeah, I'll read a piece.
All right, Mary.
Okay. So I'm gonna follow that up with a breakup poem. All right. Yeah, I lost my 2 best friends in a relationship after I was hospitalized in August for bipolar disorder. And so I wrote this kind of right after that. So that's just sort of the context. So it's written to a few people at the same time. So you want space, distance, time to think, whatever socially accepted way we break up with people. Fine, I concede, I give up, and I'll give it to you. But how do you want it? Do you want a canyon? Me to throw a lasso around the moon and not bring it down for you? Not littering your feet with useless gifts anymore? Keeping my whispered sweet nothings to myself and climbing the lasso like a rope in gym class? You seem to forget that I was whole before we met. And I don't blame you, because I can't imagine how you used to be. But whole in the way that a Montreal plate that I broke in a fit of rage was haphazardly glued back together during recovery. Whole like melted ice cream that I cried over and didn't eat and watched melt. Whole in the way like a street full of potholes and a sidewalk full of cracks and a young girl with OCD taking the threat of hurting my mother's back way more seriously than everyone else. But fuck it, it still counts. I'll build you the moat. but I won't hire nights this time, and I'll wait patiently until you want to swim it. So yeah, that's like my fuck you poem. Fuck you too poem. That's what I called it. Thank you.
All right. Any comments or?
I like that you took cliches but did something different with them. That was really cool.
Thank you. I learned that from actually Jen. Jen Karetnik. I was in the 6th grade and she was like, yeah, you all have cliches in your head. Just write something unique. It's basically what she said. I was like, all right, you're right.
Right, you're right. No, I think writing is just a way to overcome, to come to peace with yourself, and just to let out these things that need to be let out. And this is a great piece, and the imagery that you had, the ice cream melting, and all
Yeah.
of that part was great. And I think that's gonna be. I don't know. I would love to hear some more poems
Thank
from you.
you.
Yeah, thank you.
I actually post my poems on Instagram. I just started doing that during quarantine. So if you go to like Mary Rasura, it's like my name. I think I put my full name on here. It's just Mary Rasura Poetry on Instagram, which is so funny because I was like looking through my drive. I was like, how did I find a poem to read? I was like, wait, Mary, you started posting them. It's actually really useful to have them all in one place.
Okay.
So I really suggest, I'm sure everybody here kind of does that, but if not, I really suggest you start posting your writing.
Sure.
You
Okay.
don't want to
Well,
be like Virginia Woolf.
that
Yeah.
now completes our first cycle. All right. So who would like to start out with something additional?
I actually have to kind of leave.
Okay, that's
Sorry
fine.
about that.
Thank you so much for that poem and for you being here, and
Mhm.
we hope to see you again.
Yeah, thank you. I'm
Thanks
gonna
for
go
sharing.
All right.
watch a little bit of the debate as much as my mental health can handle,
Yeah.
and then go to bed. But yeah, thank you so much, Michael. Thank you for inviting me. It was really fun, and I'd love to come next time you have another one of these.
Okay, fantastic, Mary. We'll let you
And I'll watch the recording. So I'll
Right.
watch what I missed. All right, bye, friends.
We'll speak
Super
to you.
nice to meet you.
Bye, Mary.
You, bye.
By Mary Rasura Poetry on Instagram. And I did have a piece that could it's silly, so maybe I could share that now. It's an original piece by myself,
Okay, go ahead.
Brooklyn White. And all right, let's do this. Every morning I stop and stare. I wait in eager anticipation all day and night until I see you again. One brief moment, that's all I need. In that exact moment in this wide world, it is just you and me. No one is invited into this hallowed space. I dreamt all night, but now can't seem to remember anything. Only that I must have lived this dream. It still envelops me. I turn to go before the others arrive. I will cherish you until you are completed. Then others will steal my dream and trample on my bare soul. They will never really know you as I have, never cherish you as I do. I walk on, turning the corner as the rising daylight reaches a new piece of trampled earth. I stop to gaze at its beauty and sadness. I can barely catch my breath. I force my legs to continue, needing to get closer. I can no longer stand. I fall to the ground, embracing the grass. Oh, you will be glorious. Across a haphazardly hung tarp, a sign read, Design Co. Construction. There were at least 6 lots bulldozed. Somehow I stand up. My legs are shaking, so I feel as if I'm floating. I will cherish you so. That's called Construction Junkie.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Well, not unlike Dickinson herself, I think. That was
Yeah.
kind of a parallel to what you read before a little bit.
Thank you.
Does anyone want to comment on that?
What a delight. The whole time I'm like, what is it? But what is it? I'm like, is it coffee? I don't know. That was fun. That was a fun little turn at the end.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I'm just working on making up monologues for yourself because
Yeah.
you actually will be more comfortable getting on the stage as like an actor and doing monologues that you feel that like get into your soul and your body, and it's hard to find, like you say, Michael, like to something that someone's written and to make that your own. So I've been trying
Yeah.
to get into this, and let's see where it turns. But thank you for letting me read that, and yeah, I'll be quiet now.
Well, thanks a lot. And I think that is important for actors to write their own monologues. Okay, who wants to go next?
I can.
Okay.
Just kind of want to read some Shakespeare. I'm going to
Okay.
opening monologue of Richard III because I feel like it. So
All right.
now is the winter of our discontent, made glorious summer by the sun of York, and all the clouds that lowered upon our house and the deep bosom of the ocean buried. Now are our brows bound with victorious wreaths, our bruised arms hung up for monuments, our stern alarums changed to merry meetings, our dreadful marches to delightful measures. Grim-visaged war hath smoothed his wrinkled front, and now, instead of mounting barbed steeds to fright the souls of fearful adversaries, he capers nimbly in a lady's chamber to the lascivious pleasing of a lute. But I, that am not shaped for sportive tricks, nor made to court an amorous looking glass, I, that am rudely stamped and want love's majesty to strut before a wanton ambling nymph, I, that am curtailed of this fair proportion, cheated of feature by dissembling nature, deformed, unfinished, sent before my time into this breathing world scarce half made up, and that so lamely and unfashionable that dogs bark at me as I halt by them. Why, I, in this weak piping time of peace, have no delight to pass away the time, unless to see my shadow in the sun and descant on mine own deformity. And therefore, since I cannot prove a lover to entertain these fair, well-spoken days, I am determined to prove a villain and hate the idle pleasures of these days.
All right. Very good. Anybody would like to comment?
That was great.
Yeah.
Great.
I like
reading.
hearing that monologue in a female voice.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I just love that monologue because like he really makes you feel for him, even though what he goes on to do is so terrible. And then also just, I think I was just kind of feeling it like kind of sort of reflecting on the fact that I almost feel like more comfortable in these times when everything is crazy than I do when I'm like trying to pretend to be normal and like the world is normal and I'm measuring up myself against like the people around me in a different way. So I don't know.
Okay. Well, all right. Does anyone have anything else to read? I mean,
I can read a semi-silly one.
okay.
I think it
great.
it goes with what Alana just read. Okay. So this is called Ode to My B. Arthur Chia Pet.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. Girl, you are a mess. 1 or 2 chia sprouts at a time, always at odd angles. Certainly not the full head of hair you had in life. You don't even really look like you. Who among us does these days? You were a gift who sat in a box for far too long. To be quite honest, I was scared to allow you to begin. Girl, it looks like you've been drinking, which in a way, I guess you have been. At least I remember to water you every day, and that's a step. And even if you don't grow fully, you could. You do slowly. A new picture each day. You are a metaphor, a chaotic mess of potential beauty, just doing your damn best.
All right. We are
Is
running
there
the
is there
gamut
really
here.
a B. Arthur Chia Pet?
There is really a B. Arthur Chia
I
Pet, and
want
I have
that.
it. And I have it, yes.
Wow. What about the
There's a whole
other?
Golden Girls line. Yeah.
I was going to say, what about the other Golden Girls? They have each have one as well, or?
I believe so, yeah. You can get
Yeah.
all four, collect them all like Pokemon.
We are running the gamut between Richard the second or third to Chia Pets. This is great. Anyone have comments? Very good. We thank you for that.
That was great. Yeah, I mean, I knew the giveaway before because of the title, but yeah, like if I didn't know, it would have been even funnier. And I love it. Your attitude shone through. Like, you're just a hot mess. You know, like I like
Girl.
very personal. You know, like
She is a mess, bless her heart.
Yeah. All right. Well, does anyone have anything else they would like to read? Nobody?
You're muted.
Oh, I just said I want to go watch the debate.
Okay. All right. Well, I said 8 to 9, and I didn't think we were going to get it into an hour, but we've gotten into an hour. I think we have enough here. If everyone's good, does everyone feel good?
Yeah.
It was a lot of
Thank
fun.
you.
Okay,
Yeah,
great.
thanks everybody for sharing.
Well, I thank everyone for coming, and again, I hope to do this every other week. I almost canceled this week, but I reached out to a few people and put something together. So 2 weeks would be November 5th, I think.
a whole new world.
Yeah, oh, that's true. Yeah, it's interesting. My birthday's November 2nd. I'm turning 40.
Happy birthday.
Oh, thank you. But it's,
Yeah,
you
I
know,
hope it's a good birthday
I
present.
feel like it's, then the next day's the election. I just feel like it's 40 years condensed down into 2 days. So, and like she said, November 5th it's going to be a whole new world after that.
Hopefully, we can celebrate.
Even
Yeah,
even
right?
if it's the same, it's going to be new.
Yeah.
So
We may not know results by then, so
that's true as well.
everyone
That is
just
true.
has to stay calm and everyone vote.
I mean, I remember the Bush Gore election. I don't know how long did that take? A month or?
I voted for Gore.
Yeah, I voted for Gore as
First
well.
one.
I was too young.
Yeah, some of us, that was a while ago. It was 20 years ago. But
Yeah.
so what was I saying? November 5th will be the next one. Again, bring anything you want, political,
Mhm.
original, someone famous like Dickinson or Shakespeare or whoever you like, and or a monologue. And that will go under the banner of Millennial Poets Workshop. And I thank everyone for watching and hope to see you again November 5th.
Thank you for having us, everybody.
Thank you.
And I loved everyone's pieces too. I just get nervous talking on Zoom, which is why I didn't comment before, but just everything was awesome.
Yes,
It was a great variety. Thank you for having us.
absolutely.
Yeah. Really
My-
cool. Thanks everybody.
My pleasure.
Bye.
Bye.